In this lesson, I will show you how you can modify the width of the columns and the height of the rows. I will start with the width of the columns. I will select cell C1 over here, and notice that you can't see all its contents in the worksheet. Only part of it is shown, and only here in the formula bar the actual data are displayed fully. In order to fix this, I need to increase the width of the column. I will now place my mouse at the end of column C. Between the columns there is this small line which is called the divider. I will place my mouse on it. I will click, hold and drag the divider to the right. Notice that when I drag the divider, right above appears a box that tells me the width size that I can that will be set if I release the mouse button at this point. The first number describes the number of characters that fit in this width, and right after that there is a second number which is the size in pixels. I can leave the divider anywhere and at any value, for example, let's say around 16 characters, and now there is enough space for the data in the cell. In general, when I'll be talking about column width, have characters in your mind. Column width is measured in characters, so you will usually define cell width by characters, but when you use the divider, you can see both the character size, the character width, and the pixel width, so you can set it to the desired value either in characters or in pixels. A second thing I'd like you to notice is that here in column H, there are cells that display these characters. I will click on cell H4, and if you look in the formula bar, you can see that there is a numeric value in there. When a numeric value does not fit in the width of a cell, these symbols appear. This character is referred to as the number sign or the hash sign. I will talk about this hash sign in a future lesson when I will talk about errors in Excel. For now, what is important to understand is why Excel doesn't display part of numeric values as it does with words like February, and instead it displays the hashes. Excel actually does this to protect you. Let's say the value of a cell is 154, but the width of the cell is only 2 characters wide. If Excel showed just the part of the numeric value that fits, you would see the number 15. And this would lead you to wrongly believe that this is the actual value of the cell. On the other hand, using the hashes, it tells you that there is a number in here, but it doesn't fit to the width of the cell, so you have to increase the width to see it. That's why in numbers, dates, or in general, anything that is of a numerical nature, it follows this specific rule. All you need to do in order to see the values instead of the hashes in column H, for example, is to increase the width of the column. I will click with the mouse on the divider between column H and column I. I will hold down and drag it to the right, and then I will release the mouse button so I can see the contents of the column. If I want to set the width of a column exactly to the size of a certain number of characters, then there is an easier way than using the mouse. I will select the entire column H and then right-click on the column and select column width. So here I will type 15, for example, and press OK. So this way I defined exactly the size I wanted. I could also do it with the mouse, but it would be more difficult to find exactly the width of 15 characters. Another way to set the width is to go to the cells palette and the format tool and to select column width from here. This does exactly the same thing I did before when I right-clicked on the selected column. This time I will type, for example, 30 here and press OK to set the width of this column to 30 characters. Another feature that is quite useful is adjusting the width of columns exactly to the width of the data. I want to do it with the column H, for example, which is already selected, so I will go back to the format tool and notice that there is an option called auto fit column width. So I will click on this option, and as you can see, the width is adjusted to fit the widest data that exists in the column. In other words, over here August is the widest data, so the width was reduced to this width. The AutoFit tool will increase or decrease the width as needed. Let's see it work the other way around. I will shrink column C quite a lot. I will select it. I will now go to the Format tool and I will select AutoFit column width. Now the width of column C instead increased to fit the data. So AutoFit increases or decreases the width according to the data in the cells. Another way to auto-fit a column is to go to the divider and double-click it. I will go to the divider after column I, and I will double-click on it. As you can see, the width has been automatically adjusted. To sum up, I either select the column and go to the Format tool and select auto-fit column width, or I can double-click on the divider of a column to adjust it. I also have the ability to adjust the width of several columns all at once. For example, I will select from column B to column I. I will go to the Format tool. I will select column width and I will type 15, for example, and press OK here. All columns are now set to the width of 15 characters. What's what I'm going to do now? I will double-click on any column divider of the selected area. And what happened is that all selected columns widths were adjusted to the width suited for each one. Of course, I can get the same result for all selected columns by also going to the Format tool and selecting AutoFit. It's the same thing. Let's see now what will happen if I adjust the width of one of the selected columns. For example, I will change the width of column B a bit. And now all the selected columns have the same size. So when I have several columns selected, I can easily set them all to have exactly the same size width, or adjust their widths to the contents of each one. All this can also be applied for the height of the rows. For example, I will select row 1. I will press and hold on the separator on the divider right below. I will drag it down to increase the height of the line as much as I want, and I will release the mouse button. I will now double click on the same separator, and as you can see, I have auto-adjusted the row 1 to the height it needs. Another way to do it is to right click on the row. I select for row height, type 35 for example, and press OK. I can also go to the Format tool, row height, type 60 for example, and press OK. And of course I can go to the Format tool again, and as you can see, there is also the AutoFit row height option here. I will now select lines 4 to 12. I will right click on them, and from the row height option I will set all rows to have 25 as the height. I can also use the separator to auto-fit the rows. I will double click on the separator of one of them, and they all adjust automatically. Lastly, I can also increase with the mouse the height of one of the selected rows, for example row 5 to around size 30, and they all get the same height. What you need to remember from this lesson: if the data does not fit, and especially if you see hash symbols instead of characters, it means that the width of the column is not large enough, and you need to make it larger so that you can see your values properly. You can select the columns or rows you want, and from the Format tool choose how you want to adjust them. You can do the same thing by right-clicking on a column or row, and you also have the option to auto-adjust rows and columns either from the Format tool or by double-clicking or on the separator. Everything can be done for a single or multiple selection of rows or columns, whatever you want. That's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching.